Welcome back to Investigating the Northwest. This channel is dedicated to exploring the mysterious, haunted, and historical of the Pacific Northwest. This is part of a series about ghost towns, which will allow us to take a step back in time and walk the streets to imagine life over 100 years ago. This is the second organized tour our family has taken of Oregon ghost towns. My videos of tour number 1 include Antelope, Shaniko, and Kent, Oregon. The playlist link for all of the ghost town videos will be in the description box below. This tour, tour number 2, includes 6 towns and a handful of related cemeteries. Here's a map of the route we took. We visited 3 towns heading north on 97, camped overnight by the Columbia River, then visited 3 more towns heading south on 197. First, we stopped in Grass Valley, visited the Grass Valley Cemetery, then explored Moro. The next town we're exploring is Wasco, Oregon. This town, like Moro, is more of a living town than the ones we've seen, but it is listed in the book Ghost Towns of the Pacific Northwest by Philip Varney. As of 2022, Wasco's population is approximately 419 people. Wasco was settled around 1882 and incorporated in 1898. The name Wasco comes from a Native American tribe that lived along the Columbia River. The town also experienced a disastrous fire in 1903 and lost many of its original buildings. Wasco supplied goods for the many ranchers and wheat farmers in the area, so if any of the homesteads or ranches needed supplies, they would come to Wasco. Of course, as we have heard in previous videos, the economy was invigorated by the arrival of the Columbia Southern Railroad in 1897. In fact, the Columbia Southern Rail Depot still stands in Wasco today. The population of Wasco increased dramatically throughout the early 1900s due to access to the railroad. However, the Great Depression struck, technology reduced the need for human labor, and just like Moro, people moved away to other urban towns for work. In 1936, the railroad ceased operations through Wasco, and the town entered into a decline from which it has never fully recovered. We start our walking tour at the Wasco School, which was built in 1916. Now, this building is so prominent and large up on the hill that it's located that you can see it from a fair distance away as you're driving and approaching the town. So we knew that this was the place that we wanted to reach, park, and start our walking tour. The Wasco School is now a community center. It was a school up until 2009 when the lack of students forced them to close the building, bus the students to another school, and convert this building into a different use. Here's what the building looked like shortly after it was constructed. As I walk away from the Wasco School, back towards Main Street, I pass by one of the local churches. This church is still in use and well cared for, a gorgeous older building. As we approach the main street, we come upon one of the first abandoned buildings we'll see during this Wasco tour. We're now approaching one of the next abandoned buildings. It's got like an old silo behind it that I will film on my way back. But the door is boarded up. This mural is aging. Here we can see that the building was once a general store. And there's a little garden to the side in front of the storage silo in the back. Here's a much better view of the general store after I've crossed the street. And I've decided I see a few more older buildings down the block, so I'm going to take a little detour off of the main road and head towards these other buildings that I see. It looks like this used to be an old farm chemicals store that is no longer in operation. This is the Wasco House Bed and Breakfast, which I believe is still operating today. Now I've gotten a better view of this building that I just passed, but I'm not sure exactly what that building used to be. These are also some of the historic Wasco buildings, and I'm not sure what they were originally, but you can see them in this historic photo here. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of footage of my Wasco tour. It was a record-breaking heat wave week in Oregon, and my camera overheated and stopped recording at some point. However, I did take a lot of pictures, and we'll just continue this with a picture tour. This is one of the original Wasco banks, and you can see a historic picture of that here. I mentioned before that the Columbia Southern Rail Depot still stands in Wasco today, and here it is. It is now a museum center that you can tour, and you can see it connected Biggs to Shaniko. This is currently listed as the Wasco Inn, and there was a hotel in Wasco, but it does not appear that this is the same building. I did use my camera to come back to the old general store to film the back of the building and the old wooden storage building. Although at this point my phone was overheating as well, and I was starting to overheat. So if you're going to walk around old historic towns in the middle of the summer, bring water. If you're following along and taking this tour yourself, then Wasco is only about 9 miles north of Moro. So you can easily drive through Grass Valley, Moro, and Wasco within less than 30 miles. As I mentioned in the previous videos, here's a few tips for taking this tour. Fill up your gas tank first thing in the morning. There are very few gas stations, convenience stores, or restrooms along this whole route. So you want to make sure that you are not caught unawares. Also, if you're filming, then bring extra camera batteries and memory. You'll go through them quickly. And make sure you have a place to keep them cool if the day gets too hot. The next stops on our video tour will be the nearby Sunrise Cemetery. Then, as a family, we stopped for the night. When we started up the next day, our first stop was Boyd, Oregon. Thank you so much for joining me on this tour. I hope you're enjoying getting a glimpse at some of these historic towns in Oregon. Also, if you're interested in learning about the mysteries of the Pacific Northwest, of exploring fascinating locations and discovering local legends, please do subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to receive an email when a new video is released. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.